In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
Living la vida low carb. This show is changing lives. We talking about your diet, trying to get you feeling right. Cut up them avocados, fry some eggs. Time to explore the longest running health podcast, hosted by Jimmy Moore. Time to give up the crappy garbage. We're getting into ketosis. Every day is a new step to your goal. Yeah, you're getting closer, motivated and focused. Don't stop, just go. Time to get inspiration from the Living La Vida Low Carb Show. Hey, the livinglowcarbshow.com. Woo!
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live. And we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, here's how you can join the show. We start off over on Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, go follow me now. I'm at Living Low Carb Man. That's LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live in the content, just like all my Jimmy Ranchers are doing right now. Welcome in, you guys. Thank you for being here. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours. After 24 hours, you will need to access the show over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword search Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Finally, we have the best of the best moments of this here show in podcast form. It's the Jimmy Rants podcast over on Apple Podcast as well as Stitcher. JimmyRants.com is the website. And before I say today's Jimmy Rants, I got some cool news to share with you guys. I got a Google alert that let me know that my podcast, the Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show, was actually mentioned in a news story today out of Erie, Pennsylvania. So they call it a podcast guide. These podcasts are out now to help the estimated 45 million Americans going on a diet each year. So experts estimate that since they go on a diet, they need to know which one is right. So they list various podcasts, and they mentioned my buddy Abel James's podcast, The Fat Burning Man Show. They mentioned another one called the F It Diet Show. I don't know what that's about. Another one called Diet Science Podcast. But then right there, they put the Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show. And they say low carb blogger Jimmy Moore encourages, inspires, and motivates listeners with interviews of prominent people in the world of low carb and paleo, talking to experts in science, medicine, and living. And then they list some of my recent episodes. So that's pretty darn cool. Of all the podcasts they could have chosen, they chose 4. And my show, the Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show, which is the longest running health podcast on the internet, got mentioned as one of the 4. So that was pretty cool. Just had to share here today on Jimmy Rants. Today's Jimmy Rants is all about a story that I read today, and it both made me happy and sad at the same time. Because there are a lot of people that are out there providing content just like I do here on a daily basis. And they're doing it for a wide variety of reasons and on a wide variety of topics. But in the world of diet, people have become so territorial about their chosen eating plan. I make no bones about it. I am a keto advocate. I think the ketogenic diet is pretty fantastic for most people that try it. I think that keto is the answer for so many weight and health problems that people have been looking for so many years, being trapped in the mindset that they had to cut their fat when they actually needed to increase their fat from real whole food sources, that they need to eat carbs for energy, and now that they don't need that for energy when they switch their body from a sugar burner to a fat burner. And so I communicate those ideas on video here on Instagram Live, and then it goes over to YouTube where people watch me there, and then on the Jimmy Rants podcast. So the message is getting out in that way. But there are people that represent all kinds of dietary plans, and there's a whole bunch of very influential vegan advocates out there doing their thing as well. And one such vegan advocate is currently under fire, and her name is Rawvana Mendoza Aris. And I'm sorry if I any way slaughtered your name, Rawvana, but she goes by on YouTube Rawvana, and all across her social media channels. That's what she goes by. And she, you guys, is currently under fire. According to this headline, vegan YouTuber apologizes after she's caught eating fish. Quote, "I made a mistake." So we're going to get into this story, but what I want to talk about here today is this vegan YouTube star, Rawvana. She can't be judged for wanting to take care of her health. And as you'll quickly find out, she didn't just willy-nilly add this fish back into her diet again. She had a very specific reason why. And I think the moment you dig in your heels so strongly into an ideology when it comes to diet that could directly impact your health, if we're not willing to make changes, then what are we doing? What's the point? Is it about the ideology and remaining steadfast even in the midst of evidence that says otherwise? Or do you make appropriate changes even if it goes against what you believe? So we'll get into that more here in just a moment. So I'm going to read this article. And again, if you're just joining us, vegan YouTuber apologizes after she's caught eating fish. And she says, "I made a mistake." So a vegan influencer has a fan base of more than 2 million people. Touting the health benefits of veganism, she has now been forced to apologize after she was spotted eating animal products. Oh, the horrors. Rawvana Mendoza Aris, who goes by the name Rawvana on her social media channels, apologized last week in a YouTube video that said her decision to start incorporating eggs and fish into her diet was an emergency measure spurred on by various health problems. Okay, let's pause for a second. So she's vegan, and she promotes veganism. She started having health problems. This is the problem with the online health influencer world. There's a lot of people that get online, and there's a very famous one in Australia, a very famous vegan in Australia. He goes by Durian Rider. Harley Johnstone is his name. And he brags about only eating 30 bananas a day, that's the total sustenance of what he eats. And in his public persona, he's very crass, and he puts himself out there as this great purveyor of veganism, really fruitarianism, I guess you could call it. And yet we don't know what Harley eats in private. We have no idea. And that's part of the issue. And we don't know any B12 deficiency that he might have that he has to go get B12 shots for. We don't know what's going on when the camera's not on. And the same with this Rawvana lady. We don't know what's happening in her health as a direct result of eating a vegan diet. And now that she's been, quote, caught, I even hate this connotation. Oh, how dare she have anything other than raw veganism? It's her life. And in this case, it's her health that's at stake. So who are we to judge someone for wanting to take care of their health? Let's imagine for a moment that I found out that I had an aversion to meat. I would cry, by the way, if I had an aversion to eating meat, especially since that's all I'm doing right now. But if I was discovered that I had some kind of problem, either digesting or having some kind of reaction to consuming meat, then by golly, I would do something about that. Oh, but I thought you were keto carnivore. And people might try to pull this same thing with someone like myself, well, how dare you promote carnivore and then you yourself not eating meat anymore? That's preposterous. But look at it. If it was impacting my health negatively, would you, as a follower of mine, not want me to do what's right for me? And so the same thing with this Rawvana. She started having issues in her health, and she describes it as an emergency measure. She needed to do this like very quickly, adding back in eggs and fish. So the eggs and fish gave her healthy fatty acids and healthy amino acids and complete proteins. All the amino acids are found in both eggs and fish. And she might have had issues that were complications from that. So I don't fault her. But let's continue reading in the story. And if you're just joining us, there is this very popular raw vegan advocate. She goes by the term Rawvana all over social media, including a very popular YouTube channel. And she was recently discovered to have eaten eggs and fish. And so she's describing why, because she started having some health issues. So in a 33-minute video, Rawvana said she initially did not feel up to the task of sharing the news with her followers after 6 years of eating a raw vegan diet. Can I just be honest? She had no obligation to share that with her followers if she chose not to. She had no obligation to share it immediately as soon as it was happening. I don't think, as someone in her position, that she had any compulsion to have to do that. Now, should she have before she was, quote, caught? Maybe. I come on here every single day, and if I'm running into issues, I'm sharing them with you. I try to be an open book. A lot of times people are like, well, Jimmy Moore must be sneaking donuts when he's not doing Jimmy Rants because he's still so fat. And I'm going, really? Really? I have to go there? I'm telling you guys when things happen, good or bad or ugly. But she has no obligation whatsoever. I do think for her own sanity's sake, though, she should have thought that one through. And she probably should have given a heads up. Hey, guys, I know we don't want to hear about this. I know we don't want to talk about this in the vegan community, but I'm having some issues. And here's some of the issues that I'm dealing with, this, and this. And after further investigation and talking with my doctor and talking with various professionals and hearing other people online, I have made the decision that I want to do more of a ketotarian type of diet where I still eat vegetables, lots of vegetables, but I'm also going to incorporate in eggs and fish. And if she'd have done that, obviously the radical vegan people that follow her would have a conniption fit, which they did about this anyway. They would have their conniption fit. But she's doing what's right for her. And we can never, ever, ever, ever fault someone for making decisions that are good for their own health. What good is it for this Rawvana lady to get out there and continue to do something that's causing harm to her body when, quite frankly, it could take her away from this world? Then what good is she? You can have all the veganism in the world and it's destroying your health. And what good are you if you're dead, right? And the same thing even in the keto space. What good if keto's not giving benefit? What good would it be if you're doing this diet that's not giving you any benefits whatsoever? What good is it to keep doing that diet? All for the sake of, well, I'm about keto, and in Rawvana's case, I'm all about raw veganism. What good is she to her message if she's dead or extraordinarily sick? Not good at all. And so I admire her for wanting to address this head on, although I do think her hand was forced. All right, let's hear how she responded. And if you're just joining us, a raw vegan who goes by the moniker Rawvana on social media. She had to make a YouTube video because she was caught on camera consuming eggs and fish. And she describes that the reason she had to do that was she had to do this as an emergency measure to deal with various health problems. So she's going to address now what she wrote or what she said in her video. I'm really, really sorry about the way the news was communicated to you, how you had to find out. I know so many of you trust me, you listen to me, and you probably feel deceived and lied to, and you're in your whole right to feel that way. And for that, I ask forgiveness. I am only human. Again, I don't think she had to say anything. She chose to say that, and that's great. But I don't think she has to apologize to these people for doing something that's the right thing for her health. And again, I think we can get so caught up in some chosen diet plan that we forget behind that diet plan that's advocated, there's a real human being that is articulating ideals about it. And if for some reason there starts to be issues happening, I've talked very openly about on a traditional keto diet, how I was not losing weight. I've talked very openly about that. And I've made adjustments. And part of the adjustment that I made was going more of a carnivore, more of an animal-based kind of keto. And I'm seeing the needle move again. And that's all Rawvana is doing here. She's saying, hey, look, I wasn't feeling optimal on my vegan diet, the traditional vegan diet. And after looking at the health issues I'm starting to deal with, I'm realizing I'm missing the fats. I'm missing the complete proteins that I'm now getting from eggs and fish that she put in as an emergency measure. There is nothing wrong with this at all. BuzzFeed News reports that Rawvana was spotted eating fish on a plate in a video shared on another YouTuber's channel. She says, I made a mistake and I was not planning on hiding this from you, she did in a video to her followers. I was planning on telling you, but on my terms and in my time. And rightfully so. It was her story to share, not this other YouTuber who happened to take a video. So I wonder, is there anybody around here that's going to take video of me accidentally eating some carbs or something? By the way, you won't catch that because I don't eat any. But, does she have to be neurotic now? Oh, I guess I can't eat out in public. People going to take a video of me with their iPhone. It's just nonsensical that she would be forced to address this when she's only doing what's right for her. In her apology video, she explained her history with going vegan, how she adopted raw vegan years ago after discovering how it made her feel, how great it made her feel. She also added that she benefited, this is cool guys, listen to this, she benefited from other cleanses and diets like only doing a water-only fast for 25 days. So some of the benefits that she's probably seen in her health came from being in a state of ketosis induced by this 25 days of water fasting. So that probably mitigated a lot of these health things that she's starting to deal with now. But if she's not getting the essential amino acids, the complete proteins, if she wasn't getting various micronutrients, specifically B12 that primarily come from red meat, then that's going to eventually catch up. And you do feel great when you first go vegan. I've talked to so many former vegans on the Livin' La Vida Low Carb show over the years, and most of them talk about how great they felt when they started juicing and doing all this stuff when they first started going on a vegan diet. And my theory as to why is they've come off the garbage. They're starting to eat real whole foods again, and so their body starts to reward them for consuming whole foods, consuming real food. And at some point, though, the body goes, okay, thanks for all those carb-based real foods. Where's the fat? Where's the protein? And it starts to catch up to you. But that's why people initially feel better on a vegan diet. Eventually, Rawvana stopped getting her period for 2 years. That was one of the health problems that she started having. Because of the vegan diet, it says in this story, blood test revealed that her hormones made her premenopausal. And this is a young girl. She's too young to be having premenopause come on this early. But it was the vegan diet, they say, that did that. So what she did, she started adding in more fat and more salt to her food intake. And pretty soon her period came back. By 2017, though, she said that she was, quote, basically anemic, having low thyroid. So she probably developed an autoimmune disease from eating that vegan diet. We know that that gut health can become compromised for some people that eat that way. She got leaky gut, and that leaky gut then leads to autoimmune conditions. So I don't know if she has the autoimmune condition of low thyroid, which is called Hashimoto's. But she did also develop SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and her doctor suggested that she experiment with adding in some animal products so she could put her health first. And I think that was a great idea. You know, because all the dogmatism about some chosen diet plan in the world, all of the dogmatism about it does you no good if you're 6 feet under. It doesn't. And if for some reason I start running into issues doing this keto carnivore where I'm only eating animal-based foods, which I've been doing now for right at about 3 months, if at some point I notice that something dramatically bad is starting to happen from eating that way, don't you know I'm going to shift? I am not so dug in to any one philosophy about nutrition that I can't be willing to change. And I think any of us that's in this space trying to educate people, coming on camera and having a following, any of us should be very open to doing what's right for our own health. I would never be so myopic in my thinking as to think, well, keto's the grand be-all, end-all answer, so I'm going to do keto come hell or high water, when if some version of keto I was doing wasn't working. I'm going to tweak it. And you guys know me well. I talk about this a lot on Jimmy Rants. I'm a tweaker. I will constantly tweak and see what works for me. And if I find something's working, I continue doing that. And I think anyone, including this Rawvana, if they see something happening bad in their health, should be able to make that shift without judgment. Unfortunately, her vegan colleagues do not see it in the same way. I'll continue in the story. For me, it's still an experiment. It's still a process. I'm trying to figure it all out. I wasn't going to sit in front of the camera and tell you, oh, I've been eating eggs and fish for the past 2 months. Everything is so much better. Everything is good. The plant-based diet doesn't work. I'm not saying that at all. I really want to go back to eating plant-based. This is the thing. She could continue to make most of her nutrition plant-based. I would encourage you, if Rawvana, if you're watching this video for some reason and you want a great resource on how you can incorporate that little bits of eggs and fish into your mostly raw vegan diet, go get the book Ketotarian. It's written by my Keto Talk co-host, Dr. Will Cole. He's a functional medicine practitioner out of Pittsburgh. And Will wrote that book specifically for people like you, that you run into some health issues doing a traditional vegan diet and you need a little bit of help trying to figure out how to add in those healthy fats, the healthy proteins that will give you all of the health benefits that you're now seeing, adding in these small amounts of animal products. I think you can do it that way perfectly fine. And I think she is connected to the message of plant-based that she feels kind of guilty about this. I don't think she needs to feel guilty at all. I think what she's doing is a great service to her followers. Now, again, in the vegan world, veganism, plant-based, is all a religion. And so if you go out of that and you veer far away from that by daring to add in animal-based foods that, oh, we've got to vilify animal foods, they're the reason why people get sick. Not in Rawvana's case. In her case, she got sick from just eating raw vegetables and plant foods and not having any meat at all. And I think she's doing a lot more good sharing about what's happened to her and sharing how she's resolving it. They may not want to hear it, but it's definitely the right thing to do to share it. Rawvana has more than 1.3 million followers here on Instagram and more than 2 million combined on both her English and her Spanish language YouTube channels. That's quite the following. Her fans did not take very kindly to this admission, flooding her confessional video with comments branding her a liar. Here we go, guys. Look at some of this. LOL. There is nothing wrong eating whatever. The problem is the fraud, the deception, the fake news, the alternative facts, the lies, said one user. You are morally bankrupt. Here's a woman that's just made herself vulnerable, saying, you know what? I believe in the plant-based message, but I am not well. And I had to do this measure as a desperate attempt to get my health back in order. And see, this is the kind of judgment. You're morally bankrupt. That's disgusting to tell anybody. Another one added, it's really hard to believe someone that has claimed to be vegan for a long time and then only comes out as non-vegan because they were caught eating fish in a video. So you cashed in on something you knew was growing and profitable. Very deceitful. So, this is all to them about the ideology. This is only about, well, she promotes veganism and she must always promote veganism. And if she veers from that at all, she's a fraud. She's a huckster. She's deceitful. Someone else said, you are simply a fraud. And then as of the writing of this article, that video about where she confessed about eating the meat had 3,500 likes and over 10,000 dislikes. So the vegan world has gone bat crap crazy over Rawvana doing this. And I think that's horrible. I think she has done a great service to the vegan community because I think she's highlighting something that none of the vegan leaders want to admit. Whenever someone starts reporting some of the issues like Rawvana mentioned with losing her period and having low thyroid numbers and a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, develop, whenever these things are brought up to people like Dr. John McDougall or Dr. Dean Hornish or some of the other, T. Colin Campbell, some of the other practitioners and people that have written books about plant-based diets, they always blame the dieter. They always go back and say, oh, you didn't vegan enough. You need to cut your fat more. You need to eat more starchy carbohydrates. You need to do this. You need to do that. And they never say, you know, for some people, we do notice some people start to have issues if they have this and this and this going on. They never give a caveat. It's just veganism or the high water. And what I love about the keto community is if someone starts to have issues with keto, we tell them to adjust. Some people may need to cycle in a few more carbs for various reasons. Some people should go zero carb and more of a carnivore diet for various reasons. So that's the thing I love about our community is we're open to having people shift and change things when things aren't working optimally. But in the vegan world, if you veer anywhere away from the core value of it has to be only plant-based foods, then you're vilified, you're ostracized, and you're basically made to look like you were never vegan to begin with. And I think that's disgusting. Rawvana, come in. If you're watching this, I want to invite you to be a guest on my podcast, the Living La Vida Low Carb Show, because I think this message that you have is far too important to not get out there in a big way. And if I can help you get that message out, and I want to hear from your heart. I want to hear how this has made you feel. Because right now you're feeling a lot of betrayal from that community that you so fed into with all of your followers. And you're probably losing followers because of this. But to me, you've done a great service to the greater health community simply by underscoring something that has been squelched for far too long. And that is that a lot of people that eat a vegan diet, especially a raw vegan diet, eventually start running into issues. I've seen it again and again and again over the years. And if something happens that habitually, doesn't it mean that it's a trend? That, okay, this is something that can happen for some people? And don't you think, as a service to your followers, those 2 million people that follow you, don't you think they deserve to know exactly what happened to you and exactly what you're doing and how you're really not veering that far away from your core value? Don't you think that's true? Don't you think if you eat mostly a plant-based diet and you're adding in a few eggs and maybe a little fish to give you the fats and proteins that you need to keep your health in order, isn't that a good thing to share with your followers? So, open invitation, Living La Vida Low Carb Show. Email me, Jimmy at llvlc.com. So guys, the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants is we're going to see this kind of thing happen. And this is a vegan YouTube star, Rawvana, 2 million followers in both Spanish and English. And I don't think she should be judged for taking care of her own health by adding in a few animal products at the behest of her doctor, by the way. So kudos to that doctor telling her, hey, you're kind of not getting essential complete proteins. You need more salt. You need more fat in your diet. And she did it. To her credit, she did it. She could have, even at the doctor's office, dug in her heels and was like, no, I'm the raw vegan girl. There's no way I could ever do that. I would be discredited. People would disown me. I would lose all my following. And it would cascade like that. But I think Rawvana showed great strength in doing what she did. And she should be lauded and applauded, not judged, for making this decision. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Welcome in, welcome in. Thanks for being here with Jimmy Rants today. Always a pleasure to be with you guys. Wirehead said she shouldn't be judged, but I'm not going to say that, but the vegetable people will attack her even if it is in her best interest. They don't care about people, just ideology. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of become their religion, much more so than their diet. People often try to do that with keto. Oh, keto is just a religion. I don't know many keto people that are so religiously zealot, quite like the vegan world. Those people can go off on the deep end. And I think their diet contributes to that mentality, whereas most of us keto people are pretty chill. Living, listen healthy, that's such a shame. I don't agree on vegan lifestyle, but really, it seems everyone is guilty for being human these days. Yep. A crunchy family, if they are posting publicly about their health, they should just be honest about what they're eating. I agree. I think so too. And I think now that she's kind of been forced into sharing about it, she could be such a powerful voice. Now she'll be ostracized by those zealot of all zealots in the vegan space, and they don't like it. If you start even having a little bit of animal foods in your diet, that community goes crazy because they think you're the devil now. And that's a shame to me. Ethical vegans' philosophy is no harm to any animal, no matter if they died during the process. This is why those ex-ethical vegans receive so much hate on their posts, says Alberto. Yep. What they don't realize is those ethical vegans always talk about, well, we don't want to cause harm to animals. But do you know whenever they spray pesticides on crops that these vegans end up eating? You just killed animals. Whenever, okay, I could go on and on, but there's a lot of animals that die at the altar of making those plant-based foods. Sam says, unfortunately, vegans are more about ideology than health. No one says that paleo, keto, Weight Watchers, Whole Foods says that about those diets or any other type of diet. Can't have a cheat meal. Vegans can't cheat. I guess their idea of cheat, what would be the idea of a cheat? I guess it would be animal foods. Although I think if you're going to add in animal foods for the purposes of improving your health, you can't really call that a cheat. I would call that an essential. It is funny how they demonize eggs, and almost all vegans report feeling amazing once they start eating eggs again. Of course they do, Alberto. Eggs are the perfect food, giving you the whole complete proteins that you need, along with healthy fats and cholesterol. Val says we have to do what's best for us. If people don't like it, then they don't have to follow her or anyone else. But yes, she should have said something before anyone saw her eating fish. I'm trying to put myself in her position. I don't have 2 million followers, but I have a good following with what I do. And if for some reason I started having health issues that required me to radically alter my diet away from what I talk about so often, I think I'd have to tell you. I don't know how, at least in my philosophy, I don't know how I couldn't tell you. I would have to tell you. And I would probably say, you know what, for the vast majority of people, I know that a ketogenic diet is very strong to improve their health and their weight. But for some reason or another, eating this way has caused XYZ, whatever the issue. And so therefore, I'm going to be doing 1, 2, 3, and then I outline it and I explain this is for my health. This is what my doctor and my nutritionist and functional medicine practitioner, they all agree I need to do this. That would be so easy to do. Would I lose a few followers if I did that? Sure. Would I care? No. Would I be improving my health and taking care of Jimmy more? You bet I would. And at the end of the day, like I said earlier, it does you guys no good. And it does Rawvana no good if she's 6 feet under because of the health issues that take her life. So I think we need to remember that whenever we start looking at this kind of thing coming out. Bonnie Lene says, this article shows you just how important fats really are, and for those who push the fear of fat. And more than just the fear of fat, Bonnie, the fear of salt and the fear of protein as well. AD Keto, what's up, man? I love your videos. Hashtag Team Tweaker. Yes. Tweak a deedle, man. We got to tweak, and tweak some more, because you never grow in your keto or just your healthy pursuit until you add in things. That's why I do so many different biohacks, you guys, just trying to tweak it. And it will never be absolutely perfect. You will constantly tweak things as you get older. Things will change, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just like this Rawvana has now tweaked her diet to be able to add in just a few eggs and fish to give her the benefits that she needs. Alberto says Rawvana has done a couple million on her channel by announcing I'm no longer vegan, means I no longer have sponsors and followers buying. Could be the pressure when risking her income. Well, if your income is so tied to your YouTube channel, perhaps you need to diversify your streams of income. If for some reason I could no longer do keto and I lose all the listeners to Keto Talk and Living La Vida Low Carb Show and all the stuff that I do, and you guys stop watching Jimmy Rants and all this kind of stuff, and that was all a stream of income, okay, that you find other streams of income, but you still do what's right for your health. Would you consider inviting her to talk about this? Or will her people have hernias? Well, Liz, I did. And you probably wrote that comment before I made that public invitation for her to come on the Living La Vida Low Carb Show. But yes, I have publicly now done it on this video to invite her on. She can't win in this, says Bonnie. Yeah, it's certainly a tough situation for her because she's doing what's right for her health, but her followers are giving her a hard time. But if she kept doing what her followers wanted and pretended like there was nothing wrong, then she's going to be 6 feet under or extremely ill very soon. It's a no-win situation. Life and Picks, keto for 2 years, just diagnosed with lupus, so confused as to what to do. Do I go back to the SAD diet so I get how she's feeling? Well, I don't necessarily know why the lupus developed. I would highly doubt that it had anything to do with your nutrition. But if you want to email me that Life and Picks, I'd be more than happy to see if we can find some answers as to what's going on with you there. But I've never heard of someone developing lupus as a result of being ketogenic. So definitely write to me. Val says, oh my gosh, been reading the YouTube comments. People are so rude and ignorant. Well, Val, I'm used to seeing all that rudeness and ignorance just in my work. And again, I don't have near 2 million followers like she does. And so I'm not surprised at that. And that happens not just in the vegan world. That's all across the internet. Sad diet eaters, even keto people have said some of the most vile, ugly stuff to me. Not you guys. You guys are amazing. But most of the people that just kind of get out there and they say some pretty ugly stuff. So I'm not surprised at that. Most of the comments on her video from Ethical Vegan, says Alberto, the most dangerous group willing to risk their life and others just to save the animals. What a lion would say to an ethical vegan. A lion to an ethical vegan would go, I see lunch. Don't vegans preach to eat avocado, says Kitty Caddick. Why so aggressive? I eat a ton of olive oil on top. I'm sure keto won't kill me if I decide to go meat free. She's basically been eating apart. Yeah, she really has. Hello, Lauren. Thanks for being here. Ethical vegans kill thousands of pounds of insects and bacteria for their monocrops. That they do. People are tribal by nature, says 95 NASB. Vegans take it to the far extreme. They do. And guys, I want to warn against that in the keto space. Do not become so married to keto and so tribal about keto that if someone dares says anything that's outside the realm of keto, we all lose our minds. I am so open, even as a keto advocate, to hear all kinds of voices as it relates to nutritional health. It's why over the years I've interviewed many vegans on my podcast. It's why I don't mind having people come on my show and let me interview them about their philosophy on nutritional health. It's how you grow. You expand your knowledge. You don't squelch ideas just because they're vegan, they're outside of keto. No, I want to hear what they have to say and explain why they believe what they believe. Because then it helps me understand them better, and then through that helps me understand why I do what I do better. We all learn, we all grow when we do that. Hopefully you don't mind a totally off-topic question. Actually, I do mind off-topic questions on Jimmy Rants. If you have a question outside of what I'm talking about in the pinned comment, definitely send me an Instagram message. I'd be happy to take a look at what you have to say. All right, guys, so that's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. The bottom line that we're talking about here today is we got this vegan YouTuber. She's big time, you guys. 2 million followers, Rawvana. And I think we in the keto community should surround her with love, grace, compassion for what she's had to endure. Because she's being heavily, heavily judged by the plant-based, so-called friendly, loving vegan community today. And they are ostracizing her because she did something that was right for her health. She hasn't had a period in 2 years. She has potentially Hashimoto's with low thyroid. She's developed SIBO, a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. All of these things very serious in her health. And the answer was to add back in a few eggs and some fish. And by golly, she's done it. But now they're giving her a hard time because she was, quote, caught on video eating these things. It's disgusting to me. And we need to rally around and show her love, grace, respect. And so this Jimmy Rants today is my way of reaching out to her to let her know that we respect madly what she's done and encourage her to keep doing the things that are going to make her healthy. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And if you'd like to engage live in the content, we do a couple of YouTube videos that start off on Instagram, by the way. Instagram Live. So go follow me there on Instagram at Living Low Carb Man, LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live in the content. Just like all these people did here today. Thank you guys for being here. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours. After 24 hours, it does disappear and we throw them up on YouTube where they will be housed in archived form forever and ever. Amen. Type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show. Finally, the best of the best moments of this here show in podcast form is on the Jimmy Rants podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. All of these links, you guys, are located at JimmyRants.com. So until next time, we'll see you then.